welcome to another episode of Dial In, the podcast about customer service, automation, AI, contact centers, and everything in between. I'm your host, Gadi Shamia, CEO and co-founder of Replicant, the company that automates customer service calls, chat, text at scale. And I have a really exciting guest today. And the reason I'm so excited about today's guest is that I'm one of the biggest fans of the company she works for. It's Airbnb. I'm actually recording this episode from an Airbnb, and before the episode counted, and during my life, starting at 2012, I stayed at over 60 Airbnbs. So definitely a huge fan of this company. Unfortunately, I had to deal with support multiple times. I also have this experience. You can't go to 60 Airbnbs and never have an issue. Some experience in this side as well. And I'm also excited because today's guest was not only an Airbnb executive. She came from years of experience in AI and ML from some of the industry titans like Workday and ServiceNow. So she brings the industry experience, the consumer experience into one. I would like to welcome Hanlin Fang. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
So tell me about your role at Airbnb.
All right. So I actually joined Airbnb last November. So it has been only 8 months-ish at Airbnb. So I was I'm ahead of the digital products in community support organization. Really, what my team is trying to bring the digital experience as part of a community support experiencing, combining with the AI and omni-channel experience to provide a seamless experience for our host and our guest.
Mm-hmm. So before we go into Airbnb, you came from the industry, you came from Workday and then ServiceNow, and you've been working on AI and ML well before it was cool, 2016 and onward. What are the problems that your customers, both at Workday and ServiceNow, were trying to solve using AI and ML? Maybe start with this question.
Sure. So you're right. When I started machine learning journey, it was way less cooler than what we are experiencing now with ChatGPT. So, however, the problem domain seems super relevant across in SaaS enterprise customers and our consumer customers. Basically, it's how we can leverage the intelligence. How can we leverage the data to provide real-time or personalized, actionable intelligence for employees or for the consumers? Fundamentally, they're the same. So for me, it's really the recent technology with Gen AI supercharged the possibility of hyper personalization across customer support. So that's super exciting, actually.
Mm-hmm. And as someone worked on AI early on, how different is the experience of the tool set today, and compared to what used to be in 5-6 years ago? And what's the actual impact of this new technology? Because we say, oh, ChatGPT is cool, but you'll be able to see it for 7, 8 years, or actually more than this now. What are the changes and what's the impact of these changes on our life and day to day?
I can see actually from 3 angles. So when we started machine learning AI journey 7, 8 years ago, we had to start from scratch. So ChatGPT make the entry level so accessible to so many people, so many startups. So that's I think it's a huge difference. The second difference is the base model, the foundational model performance is reaching to the certain point. We can add additional small effort of data with proper fine tuning. We can actually achieve the outcome so much faster. So it's not only just make entry level lower, but also make the acceleration faster. So this is from the provider perspective. As a daily user, I don't know how about you. I use ChatGPT every day to make myself so much efficient for market research, for email crafting, for almost everything.
Yeah, I relate to what you say about the speed and depth. We at Replicant using the previous generation up until very recently, the state-of-the-art generation AI models probably spend a year fine-tuning a model that understand what's wrong with your car, because we serve multiple AAAs for roadside assistant calls, and of course people describe broken things about their cars in a million different ways. So we train this really good model that understands, based on what you say, exactly what the issue and which type of service vehicle you need to get, and then we replace it with a LLM-based one, with generative AI-based one, in about 4 weeks, and achieve the same, if not better, results. Again, we used some of the knowledge we had, but the ramp was so quick that we were astonished by how quickly we got to very similar levels compared to what we got after almost a year of fine-tuning the result we got. So this is, of course, exciting for us as well. So tell me, what led you to move from a career in the technology company to actually go and almost flip side to a customer? I'm sure Airbnb was a customer, at least for one of the last 2 companies you work for. What made you make the switch?
This is an interesting question. Actually, I was asking myself too before I joined Airbnb, and almost everybody asked me the same question after they figure out now I'm working at Airbnb. So when I was at the SaaS company working on AI or conversational platform or any solution, we had thousands of customers. We try to be as generic as possible with the flexibility of configuration. So that's how we go to market typically. At the same time, we also realize that there's no one size fits all. So customers, they have very specific requirements. So that's the reason we require our customers to do their own customization on top of the platform approach, right? So that was the deep reason I wanted to get into customers' domain, to really learn in depth how complex it can be, how specific it can be. So not surprising, right? At Airbnb, I still cannot imagine the complexity we are having right now to really support our hosts and guests. I would never know that. I would never learn that from a just typical SaaS company.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I love it. That's why.
Okay, yeah, I would not try and compete with number of stays. I know I'm extreme here. It's not. I've been in the space for I think this is my I'm finishing 9 years in customer service, and I talked this before. In our Replicant, we serve many companies that have very large customer service teams, and not many of them have a leader dedicated to support technology. It's usually part of IT, and the head of customer service is asking and begging for, hey, I'm getting all these tickets for this problem in the product, can you fix it? And the head of IT is saying, sure, it's on my roadmap, 2026, you're gonna get it, don't worry. And then maybe 2028 they get it, and I'm of course exaggerating, but in many companies, customer service is the stepchild when it comes to technology. And even though the cost of this issue that technology can fix are immense, it's still always behind what the end customer of this company need. And here Airbnb is saying, hey, I'm going to bring this very senior executive, build a team around her, and let her run support technology. What was the vision that Airbnb had around that?
So let's start with Airbnb vision, right? Airbnb's business model is very magical when it works. So you are a very experienced Airbnb guest. So when Airbnb works, it's a magical experience. But when something happened, it's still one of kind. The experience of the customer support for Airbnb is very unique in a way. Airbnb is a platform for the safety issue, on-trip issue. You need urgency to solve it. But at the same time, Airbnb many times need to work with hosts directly to solve that issue. So for Airbnb customer support, we internally call ourselves community support. It's not just customer support as a last step. I truly believe the community support or customer service at Airbnb truly should be our differentiator. That's the reason the company invests heavily to see how the latest technology trend can even level up to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love your answer because you're right. I'm in this Airbnb right now that is magical and the host is amazing and everything is perfect. I do remember arriving to an Airbnb in New York at 1:30 a.m. From this late flight, finding no sheets on any bed, and no sheets in any closet in the house. And how would the Airbnb support help me at it's not even feasible to go to a different Airbnb, and it's a very complex, unique problem because I'm sure it's not common that a host just forgets to put sheets on the bed. Make it interesting for everybody. I end up declining trying to find an Airbnb in the middle of the night. I had an 8 a.m. meeting in New York, and I just slept. I organized some sheets and towels from sheets and blankets from the towels, and slept this way. Very much camping style in this one night Airbnb, but you're right, it's a very unique situation. So kind of thinking of that, how do you train agents to solve this really complex problems, especially when you cannot afford to have probably agents that are experienced travelers and mature and dealt with issues like this? How do you train them to solve these complex problems?
You're spot on. This is not an easy problem to solve, even for Airbnb. The training, the onboarding for our agents actually takes lots of effort, lots of time too, for our internal ops team to really set up the proper process. So that actually brings another aspect of recent AI, because for me, agent training, no matter how much time we train them, when they got into the real customer calls, because of Airbnb is such one of a kind, they will be freaked out about the questions, the issues, the workflows they need to address for the customers anyway. Also think about our host. Our host needs to support as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm thinking. The AI can not only just help our agent to support our guest, but also host to think about the possibility of the future with AI to provide the real-time training, to provide real-time help for our agent. So as a product lover, we always have this vision to see. Right now, we automate to support our guests and hosts. We should also automate to support our agent. So we have this the harmony concept. In the future, it should be the human and AI digital harmony. They work on the best part. They can introduce the value, not just for our guests and hosts, but also for our agent. So I'm not sure whether that answers your question because that is a tough one.
And it's maybe diving deep into it, it's such a hard space to support. You mentioned we mentioned the different type of issues that again, no sheets on the bed could have been a super simple problem in a hotel. The hotel will have tons of sheets, and even if there's no cleaning staff, the front desk could have gone and set a bed for someone if something like this happened. But then it can be a host doesn't require a separate deposit. It can be so many different things. And then it happened in what, 70, 80 countries with different languages, different policies. So when you think of AI and the role of AI in that, it almost feels like the uniqueness of the problems require human ingenuity and may not even benefit that much by AI. But I'm sure it's not necessarily true. So tell me more about how you think of using AI when the problems are so unique.
We actually need human when the problem is so unique, right? That's the harmony concept we try to establish. It's not just AI can do everything. It's a human with AI together can play 1+1 actually is more than 2. So that's how we envision the future of AI in contact center, in customer support. When uniqueness happen like this, I almost feel like sometimes we need to all embrace the uncertainty with AI. So the AI impact will be so much more than policy making, a process making, or the way we just support our users, customers, our agent. It also influences each of us. For example, you and I, we are all guests. So for the customers who choose to use Airbnb, our mind is much more open when we deal with unique situation like this. I myself, I might have a different standard, different approach. If I'm staying in hotel, the similar situation happened. Of course, from Airbnb perspective, we try our best to really ensure our policy works well with our host. So our host can be very, responsible for this kind of support. We also try to create the policy procedure that we can address guest need when unique situation like this. It can be refund, it can be rebooking, it can be other things we can reach out to hosts. So those kind of uncertainties, those kind of uniqueness actually is how Airbnb has been successful so far, right? So yeah, with AI, we just like to see how can we even connect strangers, hosts, and guests closer to really make our mission real.
Yeah, and it's you brought the host and guest, and of course there's sometimes harmony between the ghost and the guest and host. That's exactly what happened to me in this day. And sometimes the guest is terrible and the host is fantastic. Sometimes the host is terrible, the guest is fantastic. How do you balance the two? Because when there is a conflict, the conflict is often between a host and a guest, and either both are at fault or one or none. How is support balancing between the two? Are there two different teams? Is there some kind of a Supreme Court to address these issues? How do you deal with that?
So we do have a very well-defined policies. I feel like, I don't know about other customer support organizations from other companies, but I do believe Airbnb policies are one of those very complex but very detailed approach. That's the one thing. We need to make sure policy is really specific. We try to cover as many scenarios as possible. That's the one thing. So clarity should be there. The second one is transparency will be there. So Airbnb can try our best to connect hosts and guests. Then to make sure the communication transparency, we provide the proper channel so they can connect, they can communicate. So that's transparency. And lastly is, at the last resort, human are human. What Airbnb can provide in certain situation, how Airbnb can allocate specific funding or specific program to support this mediation-like situation. Sometimes it's, that's the uniqueness Airbnb stepped in, but it's also the challenge part. Airbnb has been working really hard.
And are you using AI to help agent understand all these policies? Because if they are detailed, then you create an issue of now you have to go through a 4 months training in order to understand all the policies. Are you using AI today to make the policies more accessible to the agents?
We are trying that really hard. We don't believe our agents have the bandwidth or time to read through the policy in real time, especially when situation happen, like your case, in middle of the midnight. There's no time for agent to really read through, let's say, 20-page policy, right? How can we use AI to read it and summarize and highlight the specifics to agent so agent can respond and support immediately? So that's part of AI exercise, and we are trying to do. The short answer is yes.
And when it comes to full automation, the thing that, for example, from our perspective, what Replicant is focusing on is full automation. We'll take calls like roadside assistance or intake of a patient to a hospital and just automate end to end without human touch. And we all think that we succeeded if a member could be stuck in the middle of the road and get a tow truck without ever speaking with a human. Then the humans are reserved to deal with more complex safety issues that can happen on the road. What is your approach between balancing AI as an assistant to the agent versus AI as a front-end tool that automates full flows completely without an agent?
I think that really depends, because automation is one way to solve users' issue faster, whenever, wherever, whatever. At the same time, we also need to really consider human are human. when even with very simple issue, if we detect any sentiment or detect any emotional need, so that's where we think human needs to be part of a conversation. Even AI can do this. So this is a very interesting topic, where human should play, where AI should play, how they can collaborate in real time. So AI is not just the automation tool, right? Even though some simple questions we want to automate it through AI, but we still keep the option for human to intervene whenever we think it's necessary. And sometimes there's no one solution fits all, but it's really the contextual driven decision made at the real time. I feel like that's part of a AI practice we have to consider for every single use case. You know, we have those maybe question and answer like support cases we can automate, but it doesn't mean everything needs to be handled by AI, even they can.
Mm-hmm. And you know, the other part of hospitality and travel is really personal, and every customer is different. Have you thought of how do you think of using AI for personalization, maybe even tiering customers? You know, my example is that as a very experienced Airbnb traveler, I feel that I know a lot, and when I ask support, I already know and exhausted all the issues that all the possibilities available to me from my experience or from reading the policies, which you actually made available too. So I can, as a guest, educate myself on the policies too. How do you make my experience more personal? Maybe using AI. With my expectation that, you know, more experienced traveler need to get maybe more experienced agent or more sophisticated answers. I'm curious about what you do there.
First of all, internally, we want to make sure we understand our customers. We also want to make sure how can we connect internal data all together. So we have a host data, we have a guest data, we have a support data, and we have other data set available. So internally, from technology perspective, we need to connect those together in order to really have a whole view about our customers, about our guests, even our guests or our hosts' preferences. And with that, when issue happens, we are hoping we can provide better context to our agent, so the agent can either understand the situation better or understand the user better. The best situation will be combine those together. And again, like I shared with you, there's certain scenarios, certain cases, how Airbnb can connect hosts and guests to solve altogether. So for me, that's actually the three-party or multi-party collaboration for Airbnb, which makes Airbnb so unique.
Mm-hmm. Did the emergence of because I heard the CEO in your earning calls talk about specifically about ChatGPT and the usage of that in great detail. Did you are you getting more resources or more focus from the company now that ChatGPT is out? You kind of join almost in the same time that ChatGPT became available. Do you feel it helps you getting more resources and focus internally?
We are getting the priorities, let me put that way, not necessarily the new incremental resources. It's all about how we prioritize the investment. Mm-hmm. But this is the revolutionary direction we think is super important for every company, not just Airbnb, right? So we're full speed in this journey. Also, interesting point of this journey is even ChatGPT is so much powerful. There is so much unknown along the journey. So how can we actually shift the mindset of our global customer support organization, our even, you know, developers, our designers, our product managers, to have that learning by doing mindset, where we are introduce AI as part of an integral experience along the journey. So that's actually what we are experiencing right now. Lots of excitement, lots of unknown, lots of questions. So we are in the middle, you know, especially PMs are in the intersection part to connect all the people together, to connect all the data together, to connect all the capability together. So that's what I'm learning. How about yours?
Yeah, we're in. I'm actually what I want to ask you is in the midst of the of you've been both on both sides, the vendor and a customer. What would be your advice to the VP of customer service, the chief customer officer, to try to get resources now or visibility into contact center automation or AI? What would be your advice on how to position it to the executive? Because I'm sure you do a lot of it now.
One thing we need to share is AI is becoming a real. It's no longer a bubble like few years ago. AI will revolutionize how our customers interact with us. So it's coming. We can either do it now or we are behind. Right? It is really how about the prioritization. It's hard call. Even today, we have so much challenge how we prioritize this to make sure we get the resource we need to work on this. Like you said at the beginning, right? I started my AI machine learning journey around 2016. If I have to compare now versus then, now is the time the leadership needs to stand up saying, this is something we need to do quickly, we need to prioritize this. And how can we balance the prioritization, balance the budget, balance the investment? I think every company has his own uniqueness to handle, but this is a time we need to do.
Mhm. How do you think Airbnb support is going to be, say, different with your work with AI in a year or two from now? What will be a success in your opinion?
First of all, we need to really see how responsive Airbnb support is. So wherever you need it, we're there, right? This is how responsible we have to be. The second of all is how fast we actually can solve your issue or your need. And lastly is how happy you are with our service. I don't see those metrics change from the even traditional contact center support. We always want to have this 24/7, so solve your issue fast enough and you are happy with our solution. The difference with AI is how can we differentiate the AI support from human support? And how can we make the interaction with AI not exactly human-like, but with the empathy, with the fully understanding, with the fast resolution? So that's the nuance with AI. So customer demand, even now, right? Customer demands a different channel to interact with us, maybe different modality to interact with us. But if I have to go back to the technology layer, I have to say today with ChatGPT, we are in the game of how should I say this? Structure the unstructured data to make it machine processable and unstructure the structured data, make it natural, engaging experience for our end users. So that's the game we're playing right now. That's the, for me, that's a simple way of saying this, but it involves lots of research, for example, from our user experience team, involves lots of psychological discussion. How can we introduce that human touch with AI? Now, how can we differentiate the different roles between AI and our human agent? So I feel like this is a fascinating time for us and for you and me. Both are in this area. So for me, it's super exciting.
Yeah, it's we're absolutely sitting here saying, "Wow, like this is the AI industry develops so fast that achieving our maybe 10 years vision might take 5 years, and who knows, by the time it's 3 years into the 5 years, it might be only one more year, and we can achieve that. So it's definitely very exciting. So we're getting close to the end. I want to introduce the last piece of the segment, which is speed dial, in which I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and you answer them in one sentence. So they're supposed to kind of go quickly. Have you experienced any great customer service lately? And what was a good experience you had?
I have to say the best customer experience is no customer support needed. So in-product experience with support has to be there with AI. So I will share the latest experience with Tesla. I have a very old Tesla Model S. So once when I was driving on Highway 101, the media center, the big window got crashed. So I was freaked out. What happened if the media center crashed? Whether it has any impact on the driving? Nothing actually really happened. So as a customer, my mental model switched from extremely scared become extremely appreciated. This is how they design their service, how they design their experience, how they design their product. So for me, as a product person, I always believe the best customer experience service will be part of a product experience.
That's such a great comment, such a great headline. The best customer service is not seen, and you don't even need to get it, because customer service is only needed when something goes wrong. If you think of the customer service agent of the future, how will they be different than the ones today, now that AI is so common?
I feel like our future agents will be very curious. That's the trait I'm looking for from them, almost from every one of us, because that curiosity will allow our agent to be open-minded with the AI. Yeah, AI is great, but AI is continuous learning. It never be the ultimate outcome saying, hey, this is it is. So with that mindset, I feel like our agent can be more supportive, open-minded, fast learning with this AI technology together. But honestly, for anyone, for any position, this is what we need.
Mm-hmm. What's one thing you know about customer service and how it works that you think most people don't know?
This is a good question. Actually, I don't know how to answer that question. It's the one thing I know, but
Yeah, it's something that most people don't know, but customer service is, and when you walk into a customer service center, or maybe some of the internal processes that customers are not exposed to. What is one maybe anecdote that you think is unique to customer service and most people don't know happen behind the scenes?
How stressful our agents are. I don't think many customers know that. If they know how stressful their job is, sometimes we can be a better customer.
Oh, I love that you say that. My first managerial job ever was running a 20 people customer service team on the phone, and I had two things in my office. I had a Kleenex box, and I had a little box of chocolate. And at least every day, one agent would walk into my office. It was small enough for people to just walk in crying, or extremely frustrated, and I would here's a tissue, here's chocolate, and just talk through it. And I think some of my skills in psychological skills actually came from there, because there was nothing I could have done. I'll just provide some comfort because it's so stressful. So I'm so happy you're saying it. And every time we talk with customer service, we should remember they don't set the policy; they're just trying to do their best.
Yeah.
If adding up to 100%, what take 2-3 years from now? What percent of customer service can be fully automated by AI, in your opinion?
70-80%.
Wow, that's a sea change in 2 years. That's massive. I think this is what most people don't understand. This is an avalanche. It's happening really, really fast. And if it can move from few percent automated by AI to 70%, or even if it's take 3-4 years and not 2 years, it's a massive change to a pretty stable industry in the last 30-40 years. Really interesting point of view here. Which technology you think have a biggest impact on customer service? I'm assuming it's AI, but what's specific about AI?
Because two things. AI allows the automation, that's one thing. Also, the most recent ChatGPT AI allows the natural conversations that happens. Before this, we have AI automation, we have RPA, but the engagement is not natural. Now that's possible. So I feel like it's not just for automation, it's also how we interact between AI and the human. That makes a difference, especially in customer support.
So the spectrum of AI will destroy the world or will do amazing things for the world. Where are you?
Spectrum. I think we are in the right in the 30% mark. We're not there yet. So the most recent book I'm reading is Personalized Law with AI. with hyper personalization to think about how law can be applied differently if we define the outcome-driven approach.
Cool. And maybe my last question is, anyone that you really admire in customer service or customer service technology you would like to see in this podcast?
You know what? I've been a Tesla fan since I got my first Tesla. I always want to learn how Tesla customer support scale with massive adoption now compared to maybe 7, 8 years ago.
We should go after Tesla. Hanlin, thank you so much for joining. It has been several years since you reached out to me first time to ask about Replicant when you're at ServiceNow, and I'm happy we're able to stay in touch. Thank you for joining, and thank you for all our listeners for dialing in.
Thank you for having me. I had fun here.